Alright, Travis Wayne Goodsell. The translation video is still up, saving after showering and shaving. So let's do the next video. This one has to do with latter-day events, last days events, in the context of Mormon coding from the Book of Mormon. I've gone over numerous times, and I even have the playlist now for DNC coding, along with Joseph Smith history coding. Did I put it? Translation. I think I need to make one for this one, Joseph Smith history coding. But also Book of Mormon coding as well. They encoded in their Joseph and those who were also writing. And so even though you're reading stories that seem fiction, if you understand that they're plagiarized, I've been trying to tell you that the plagiarism was specifically put in certain places for the specific interpretation of the specific passage. And so what we have in the Book of Mormon is a different scenario than in the Bible. For example, in the Gospels, it says that a sign was given of Christ's birth, and he grew up and did his earthly ministry. That was religion. He didn't restore the kingdom that Herod was so stressed and worried about. And he was actually assassinated, and the guards mocked him by here hangs, or hangs? Yeah, hangs, the king of the Jews or whatever. And Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. And then he's given a sequel event, or after credits event, where he comes back after he was murdered, and he's resurrected now, or, well, with his wife. He's not ascended yet, but he then comes back and eats and drinks and is merry with his 12 Knights Templar, apostles. And so the Book of Mormon does something different. What the Book of Mormon does is what I'm going to be mentioning here. So we start with 3rd Nephi chapter 1, where it reminds us of Samuel, name of God, the Lamanite, who they called a prophet after being scolded by Jesus when he comes to America. And it says, why didn't you write his words? Oh, okay. So now he's a prophet because he spoke the words of God. And there's the day on Father's Day, tradition of the fathers, of his coming into the earth in the old world. They make that clear. The Nephites only see the sign. And there's a day set aside by the unbelieving Nephites to assassinate the believing Nephites if the sign does not occur, as prophesied by Samuel, name of God, the Lamanite. And sure enough, Nephi is told by the Lord, I'm coming. We're going to have a day and a night without a night and then a day. And I've already explained with the sign tomorrow for Father's Day that it will be day when it occurs in Jerusalem, but then it'll be day when it's night in Jerusalem here in America, and then it'll be day again in Jerusalem. A day and a night that has no night, and a day. And it's in the Jerusalem area at 9:01 when I had my dream. 9:01, waking up, I realized that's when it's over Babylon at 9:01. Isn't that cool? Did that video for you as well. And this is what the Gospels indicate is the sign of his restoring the religion. Now, the Gospels, Jesus does not overthrow the Jews, but the Christian movement after Jesus dies does overthrow the Jews. The Jewish Christians disappear. They just are gone. And we don't know why, whether they got assimilated with the Christians, or if they got just died off without heirs to carry on the traditions. But Alexandria Christians were the dominant populace of the early Christians there in Egypt. And so what you have is two different signs for the Nephites. The first one, he supposedly comes to earth, but not in America where the Nephites are. The second sign, he comes to America. And that's important to understand. And so, what have we got going in our modern context? Well, we see Babylon falling. That's the sign for tomorrow, as it's over Babylon. Okay, the video's saved. Priesthood, key of translation for LDS Mormon man like Moses. Ching, ching, bing. And then let me upload it first. I've forgotten what I was going to put in the description. Busted. Holland got busted. I did that video already and uploaded it for you. Lex. They're showing a 3-month ago video where her daughter had heart surgery and Mormons in the church gave her thoughts and prayers. Unbelievable. And then ABC4 News Utah is covering the now all of a sudden woke Mormons who are celebrating Juneteenth for the first time ever. Oh, there's a Juneteenth? Okay, let's celebrate it. We'll learn the ethnic culture. My mom, white supremacist, alt-right Mormon, gone on a mission, so she's hardcore. That's what she called it. ethnic. You know, all they were good for was entertainment. And that's what the church does. With whether it's blacks, whether it's Polynesians, whether it's Hispanics, all they get assigned to do is entertainment. You don't see them in leadership positions very often, at least in Utah. Let's see, priesthood. So, yeah, there was a lot of information in that hour and 8-minute video that I didn't get put in. So you'll have to go back and watch all my other videos. Oh man, that's such a burden for you. I mean, now that we've gone green here in Utah, the coronavirus is gone. I mean, seriously, do you not understand about the body? If you get an open wound, you have to stop the bleeding. If it's a severe bleed, you're bleeding out, you need to cut off the blood flow to that area, as well as cover up the wound. And what Herbert has done with this coronavirus is take off the bandage from the wound and not, release the constriction to stop the flow of blood to that area. And so that's what's going to happen with this coronavirus, with the areas that he turned green, is that people who are infected are going to say, oh, it's green over there? Honey, get the kids, we're taking a road trip. And they're going to go to the places that are green to do their shopping and whatever else, because they're open for business again. And that's the only place they have to go, so that's where they'll go. And thus it'll spread in those places that went green, and then they will be hot spots. It's just the stupidity of our government, who are refusing to listen to the doctors. It's just sickening that they would seriously want us dead. Alright, so this video is going to take too much time, and maybe I'm going to have to redo it if I go too far. I'm working on another video. So, I won't do anything for the thumbnail. Let's see. It was personal, comment review. I don't think I covered lawsuit. News, Utah, crimes, resistance. Whoops, not that one. Culture. Corrected, closed, more, scripture critic, Bible lessons, codes, and I need to do JS history. Book of Mormon code, Lucifer symbol, plot to conquer, signs, Jesus, Smith, signs, Christ, coming, Messiah, Moses, prophecy, real history, succession crisis, Torah, gospel, Hebrew. I don't think I got Greek, but I did get Greek. Economy, religious, brass plates, project, Jewish holidays. Cooper Shop, Harmony, goodness. Okay. And then new playlist, JSH, coding, create, and the bottom of the list, bottom of the page. Okay, 42 playlists, my goodness. Alrighty. Now, where was I? So the sign of his birth was seen everywhere around the world. That was 23rd September 2017, according to John in Revelation chapter 12. He gave us the precise date, and it was seen all over the world. And so this sign is different. This is known about in America, and they apparently see it, but no, it only happens because Jesus is supposedly only in the old world. Well, this sign for Father's Day, which is halfway between the two other signs of the similar style, this is going to be a ring of fire, though. It's an annular rather than a total. And so we're going to have a ring of fire. It's going to be awesome. And so what you have here is he's born, and the church is restored. It's built back up. You get converts saying, "Oh, I see the sign, I want to join." And Nephi and Lehi are baptizing like wildfire. And the mockers are shut up, and they go underground again. But then there's a rising, and the second time it's a government rising. And this is what's important to understand, is because, let's see, 3rd Nephi, is it 8? Yeah, tempests, earthquakes, and destructions are all involved here in 8. But Jacob becomes king of the Nephites, causing a fractured, united kingdom. They become tribes rather than a united Nephite nation. And so I'm sure there's no connection, right, with a king being put on the throne as the puppet king, like Zedekiah was the puppet king of Babylon, as they're comparing and coding and such. And United States being divided states because of the puppet king. But yeah, that's what they're talking about, is that the kingmen are going to put a king on the throne of America, and it's up to the free men to save the Constitution, the law of Mosiah. And here in the Book of Mormon, the free men fail, and the kingmen succeed, divide the nation, and the puppet king becomes king. But in chapter 8 comes the disasters, as there would have been a sign in the heaven. And the people, in verse 3, began to look with great earnestness for the sign which had been given by the prophet Samuel the Lamanite, yea, that there should be a time that there should be darkness for the space of 3 days over the face of the land. 3 days or 3 hours? But yeah, like the other one, or 3 different darknesses. Remember, sun darkened, moon turned to blood, stars fall from heaven. Lucifer, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer? The inverted pentagram, the upside down star. And so again, people are doubting, oh, it may not happen, oh no. The others have happened, this one may not happen. They're supposed to be brilliant with astronomy, and they're just being portrayed as dumb. Yeah, the sign happens, and there is darkness, and great and terrible destruction. they refer to the destruction as not coming from the king, but by Mother Nature. Sort of a global climate crisis, shall we say. We've already had 3 pre-season storms. And so, yeah, we're expecting a deadly, dangerous, destructive hurricane season. And we've already got fires started up all over the land. And, yeah, isn't that fun? And tornadoes, floods. So the destructions are happening already. But let's go back and review what happened. The first total solar eclipse on President Monson's birthday and the new year of the ancient Egyptian religious calendar occurred on 21st of August 2017. Then John's Revelation 12:1 occurred a month later after the Jewish New Year on the 23rd of September 2017, when the Relief Society, with the new Relief Society president who was taken up from the primary presidency, she's no longer a virgin, she's now a woman, because that's how they understood it. If you don't have babies, you're a virgin. If you have babies, you're a woman. And so Monson selected the primary president to become the Relief Society president, and her first official conducting over the women's session of conference was on the 23rd of September 2017, when the sign occurred in the heavens of the woman giving birth, the virgin becoming a woman. And after the announcement of the battle on the 21st. And so that was the first total solar eclipse. Then you have tomorrow, which is an annular eclipse, and that's over the old world. And so during that time, it's understood in the Book of Mormon as when Jesus came to earth to restore the church. So what would be the case here in America of restoring the church? Exactly. Pharaoh, whom Moses confronted, was a combination of religion and government. Melchizedek. Our day, it's separated. So they've got to each be overcome separately. The Book of Mormon is indicating religion will be overcome first. Even the Gospels indicate that that's what the case was, is that his earthly ministry in the old world was the restoration of the religion. But he is supposed to come back for a second coming to restore the government. The Book of Mormon clarifies this with signs, not with a history of, which is fiction, about a God coming back to earth. That's why the Jews don't recognize Jesus, is because he didn't save the Jews the first time around. And so that's what we've got here. The third total solar eclipse, in this case, is on 8 April 2024. It crosses in America, in southern Illinois. Joseph Smith, in his 19 July 1840 talk, said, "We need to build the cities of Zion and New Jerusalem in southern Illinois." That's where the Knights Templar had bought the land of America east of the Dakotas to have at that crossroads in southern Illinois, where they buried the golden plates in Egyptian. I did the video, just did it. It's got 2 minutes to upload at 87%, then it's got to process. It depends on whether the Mormon's working. It will hinder it. And I've got to take care of this real quickly. Cha-ching. And cha-ching. And cha-ching. Cha-ching. Okay. Don't even think about it. Princess Bride. And so that's the destruction that the enemy, that the Smiths had tried to prevent and then warn us with the Book of Mormon, was going to be the destruction of America. As you can see, it's already going on now. They're already in full swing. And so it looks like Trump is going to carry on for the next 4 years. But if we can succeed in overcoming the religion, Oberg, give us the order. We can at least get the religion restored, get the city built before 2024, when the government will collapse and the governments of the world will collapse because of the sign tomorrow. And the signs of the first and the last. All plays a symbolic role, not just a sign for sign's sake. And so this third one, this is after this, Jesus comes to America. So he doesn't go to the old world. He restores the government and the religion in a theocratic person of Nephi, son of Nephi. And talking about making sure the records of Samuel, the Lamanite, son of God, or name of God, which corresponds with Amen. And I talk about him in this translation video. And Joseph Smith talks about him too. Son Amen, Adam Ondai Amen. He's the Egyptian sun god, Samson, and Samuel, name of God, sun god, Amen, that's his name. And so when you look at the priesthood of Amen, of the Egyptians, you look at Joseph Smith. Why do we call it the Melchizedek priesthood? Because it used to be the name of God. What's the name of God again? Oh, right, Amen. And so this is what we're looking at, is with tomorrow's sign, we're going to have the restoration of the church, the religion. As Book of Mormon says, converts, the wicked are thwarted and go into hiding. But then you have another one that comes up after tomorrow's sign. April 8, 2024. And that's when it's expected that the government of America will collapse, as well as the rest of the world. Because if America collapses, the rest of the world will also dive into chaos and anarchy. And the Knights Templar specifically designated that crossroads in America to be the place for the New Jerusalem. And if you want a refresher, Joseph Smith himself. And run away. Doctrine and Covenants 45. 66, and it shall be called the New Jerusalem, a land of peace, a city of refuge, a place of safety for the saints of the Most High God, Mormons, the restored church. 68, see, it shall come to pass among the wicked that every man that will not take his sword against his neighbor must needs flee unto Zion for safety. We don't have Zion. Church hasn't been restored yet. So we're going to have a massive rush to build Zion in New Jerusalem in southern Illinois, as the Knights Templar had purchased the land for, and as Joseph Smith, being of the York Rites with the highest rank being the Knights Templar, knew about and said in his 19 July 1840 talk, we need to build the mountain cities of Zion and New Jerusalem. You guys have thought it was in Missouri. You're wrong. He says that. He says it's in southern Illinois. So I was raised wrong. We're not going back to Missouri. We're going to Illinois. Once Judge Ober gives her order. But she's taking her sweet time. But the sign is now. It's tomorrow. And then we need to have it built so that when the whole world descends into chaos by 2024, people then will have a place to flee to. And that's all in the Book of Mormon. Because then Jesus comes, Nephi is made the king and the religious leader, and Jesus leaves after he says that he needs to make sure that the record of Samuel Lamanite is written. All three characters are one and the same person. Man, Coca-Cola truck barreling down. And that's the coding, is that you have three different characters, but they're all the same. Because Jesus doesn't stay to be the king during the millennium. You notice that? It's Nephi. He gives it to Nephi. And Nephi is making sure to be the one to do the records. He keeps the records. I went over that with you with the Ezekiel 37 in the translation video here. That Joseph Smith intended that the president of the church is a translator, record keeper, scripture writer, translator of Egyptian and Paleo-Hebrew. And so in the listing of who is the Mormon man like Moses, which is in 103, he needs to be a translator of Paleo-Hebrew and of Egyptian. And we just don't have it in the church, do we? There is no one who has deciphered Paleo-Hebrew or deciphered Egyptian petroglyphs to carry on the work that Joseph Smith started and was unsuccessful because he was murdered. And thus his church and organization needs to be restored. Because there's nobody that can do that, right? So the prophecy is in vain, where it says, behold, I say unto you, the redemption of Zion must needs come by power. Therefore I will raise up unto the Mormons a man who shall lead them like as Moses led the children of Israel, which is the office of the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints of Joseph Smith, who is a translator. And so there's nobody who knows Paleo-Hebrew who can interpret and decipher this in a YouTube video for you. And there's nobody who knows Egyptian petroglyphs who can then finish the translations of the Book of Abraham and the Book of Joseph Papyri. Nobody can do that, can they? Certainly not John Tibetness or John Gee or that, what is it, Michael guy. None of them can do it. None of the prophets who are in the office of the so-called Moses, like Jesus says about the Pharisees, they all rush to sit in the seat of Moses, but they don't have any authority. They are frauds. So that's pretty much it. Pretty much it. And so that's what we're looking at. is we're looking at Judge Oberg to give us the word that the church is destroyed, so that we can then go to Illinois, southern Illinois, and build the cities of Zion and New Jerusalem. And we gotta hurry. We only have 4 years. And then after the sign in 2024, which would be that conference weekend, when they're expecting to rededicate the Salt Lake Temple, but it'll be destroyed by then. So the prophecy will fail of Brigham Young, and the Salt Lake Temple will stand throughout the millennium. Not if I have anything to say about it. The symbol of Lucifer will come down. The keystone at the doors of the Salt Lake Temple. I've been doing these videos for you. It's Lucifer's church. The Lucifer symbol is on the keystone of the door of the temple. And yet Mormons blame me. So, yeah, the Book of Mormon tells us exactly what we're supposed to be expecting and waiting for, and what we're supposed to do as faithful, devoted, real saints. So, hang on. It's going to get bumpy.